Good morning. Welcome to the Solihull Chamber of Commerce webinar on the UK Central Hub. Today we're doing a bit of a review of what's happened in that area in terms of developments in 2020 and also get a bit of an update on plans of 2021. So what are we covering today? Firstly, I am Lillian Ellican, head of the Solihull Chamber of Commerce. I'm hosting today and just running through a brief chamber introduction. After that, I'll be handing over to Claire Barker, who's head of communications at the Urban Growth Company, who will give us a bit of an overview of what's happened in the hub area in 2020 and look ahead to 2021 as well. And after that, we are joined by Matt Hadlington and Fiona Woolston from HS2, talking about the HS2 works that have taken place in that area already, what's coming up in 2021, so we're all a little bit better in understanding what construction might cause any delays for travelling, etc. as well, and also briefly touch upon some of the supply chain opportunities. If you have any questions, we will have an opportunity for Q&A at the end. There's a chat box that you can use, but for any questions, there's a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen that you can use to pop any questions into the panelists, so we can see them and run through them at the end. So firstly, brief introduction on the Chamber. I think most people on the webinar will know the Chamber quite well, but just in case, we're the Solihull Chamber of Commerce and we're part of the Greater Birmingham Chamber of Commerce group. Founded in 1813, so we've been in place for a long time to support businesses, to help them connect, support and grow. We have 10 divisions, 6 geographical divisions and 4 theme divisions. And I always want to highlight, obviously, in the current climate, with most things being online, it's an ideal opportunity as a Solihull Chamber member or any other divisional member to dip in and out of events of other divisions as well. Because obviously at the moment, you wouldn't have to travel to Burton to join a Burton event. So you do have a look on our calendar to see what else is available that you might want to participate in. I've already said we're here to connect, support and grow businesses, and throughout the pandemic we've worked very hard to do our best to keep business moving. We've got a variety of ways of doing that. We help connect you with other members through member-to-member offers on the marketplace, our networking events, and also digital peer learning sessions as well. Support, we've got a COVID-19 hub, which hopefully you'll all know by now, but I will run through it on the next slide briefly. Webinars like today's. If you need any legal or HR advice, we've got a helpline that's accessible for members as well. We do lobbying and campaigning, all sorts of topics, obviously, particularly around Brexit and COVID at the moment, and also support you on grant funding that's available. I think most divisional chambers, as well as Birmingham Chamber, have done webinars recently on the grants for Tier 2 and the November lockdown. So if you've missed those, you can watch them back on our YouTube channel, kind of highlighting what funding is available and how you can apply. So do have a look at those if you are in need of any more knowledge on that. And then also growing awareness of your own business through blog posts on our website and our various e-newsletters. So this is our COVID-19 hub. If you go to our landing page on the top right corner, you can see it with the red circle. There it says COVID-19 support grid. Click on there. It will take you to a spreadsheet with everything you need to know about support that is available. It outlines what every support scheme is, how you access it, and when it's available. We keep this up to date at all times. I think we're at version 52 at the moment. So our policy team updates that as soon as anything new comes out. So if you're still trying to work out what is available and whether or not it's applicable to you, do have a look on that website. And then our webinar series. Obviously, we're in the first week of December already, but we do run a lot of webinars. We've got a couple more this month before hopefully everyone gets a little bit of a break from this year over Christmas and New Year. So I've just thought I'd highlight what's still coming up this side of Christmas. On Thursday at 8 AM, we have our quarterly business review briefing, working towards an economic recovery. So that's Q4 update and results. We'll be joined by Dr. Justin Barney, who is the Director of Public Health at Birmingham City Council. He's joined us for a lot of these briefings. Very, very insightful to hear from him think it'll be particularly interesting to hear from him this time around, as it's the first time we'll be speaking to him since the vaccines have started today. So I'd highly recommend that if you're free Thursday morning. Then next week, we've got a Brexit clinic. This is really aimed at getting Brexit ready and understanding where we are at with Brexit. I think there's only 23 days left now. So it is getting close to the deadline. So if you want to make sure that your business is ready, do join us next week. And then the 16th and the 17th, we've got 2 networking events. On the 16th, it's our international division. So if you're keen to network with businesses working in the Commonwealth or transatlantic businesses, that would be a great one to join. And on the 17th, it's our final event of the year, festive social networking with Birmingham, Solihull and our Asian business chambers. And there is a prize for the best festive jumper. So if you are joining us, make sure you pick out your wardrobe. And if you are attending any of our events, do get involved with us on social media, share your thoughts and anything that we share, and also follow us to keep up to date on anything what we're doing, but also on Brexit, COVID support and events that are coming up. So that was just a brief overview of the chamber. So I hope that's been useful. I'm now going to hand over to Claire Barker from the Urban Growth Company to kick off our event today. Thank you all very much. Claire, over to you.
Thank you, Lillian. Good morning, everybody. By way of a short introduction, I'm Claire Barker. I head up the comms and engagement work that the Urban Growth Company undertakes on behalf of Solihull Council for the hub area, which is around the HS2 station. There is a very short video that Grace is going to play for you now, and then once that video is finished, I've got a few short slides just to bring some of the video points to life. So I'll hand back over to Grace if she can play that video now. Thank you.
The UK Central Hub in Solihull is quite simply an enviable and world-class development opportunity at the very heart of the UK. It's one of Europe's best connected locations right here in the West Midlands. And the hub is being transformed as part of a 2030 vision to create a major engine for economic growth on an international scale. Already boasting major economic assets, Jaguar Land Rover, Birmingham Airport, the NEC and Birmingham Business Park, the hub will also be home to the HS2 interchange station at the Arden Cross development site. Using the arrival of HS2, this is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to create an entirely new, contemporary yet sustainable mixed-use district of the West Midlands. The vision for the hub is clear. It is to create one of Europe's best connected destinations for business, leisure and living, a new and outstanding gateway to the UK. And the regional partners, the West Midlands Combined Authority, Solihull Council and its Urban Growth Company, are already leading the work that's being delivered on the ground. The HS2 interchange station will be the beating heart of the 340-acre Arden Cross development site, connecting to central London in just 38 minutes and to the major regional cities of the north in less than an hour. Birmingham Airport is one of the UK's busiest, with 50 airlines flying 13 million passengers a year to more than 150 direct destinations. Its recent master plan sets out £500 million of new investment, helping it to continue to play a critical role within the wider ambitions for the hub. JLR's 300-acre Solihull plant employs more than 9,000 people, producing vehicles which are exported around the globe to key international markets. Work is currently underway to build a 90,000 square metre logistics operating centre, which will create more than 1,000 new jobs, cementing JLR's position as one of the region's biggest employers and one of the UK's biggest exporters. Set in 148 acres of mature parkland, Birmingham Business Park is the most established out-of-town business park in the Midlands and has growth plans of its own, with 15,000 people expected to be employed at the park by the time HS2 arrives. So much more than an exhibition and conference centre, the NEC is undergoing its own transformation as part of the wider growth across the hub. Together with Resorts World, the Resorts World Arena, the Bear Grylls Adventure Centre, various new hotels and plans for residential development, the NEC is genuinely becoming a 24/7 campus for entertainment, leisure and business, further propelling the hub's global standing. The redevelopment of Birmingham International Station on the West Coast Main Line will be absolutely transformational. Bringing together multiple modes of public transport of one point of connection, this project is creating a new and outstanding gateway to the region. Critically, it also ensures the region is HS2 ready and HS2 connected. The opportunity at the hub is unlike any other in the UK. Quite simply, it benefits from a combination of factors that no other national proposal, either in place or planned, can possibly compete with. Be part of our journey. Visit ugcsolihull.uk to stay in touch with our progress.
Thank you very much, Grace. I'm really pleased that the technology worked. You always kind of hold your breath when you ask someone to press play on a video that was quite a chunky size. I do have a few slides which I'm going to share with you now. These are probably only a dozen or so. Let me pull this screen up so that you can see them. And what I'm going to do is really just sort of touch on some of the more detailed points that Andy Street sort of picked out in the video, really. So you'll have seen from that video that the hub comprises sort of 5 key elements that were picked out there. JLR to the bottom southwest corner, Birmingham Airport, the NEC, Birmingham Business Park to the north, and then the Arden Cross site, which will be home to HS2 and is in fact already home to a fairly significant construction site there. This red line map sort of shows you the hub as it is at the moment, with pretty minimal development going on. And then if we fast forward to 2030, we can see here that Arden Cross has really sprung to life with HS2 at the heart of it. Oh, hello.
Can't see your slides, Claire, so I'll share the screen for you.
Oh, can't you?
Just let me know when you need me to move forward. I'll leave it on this one.
Oh, thanks, Grace. Yeah, if you can go forward to the second of the red line images.
This one?
And one more. That's fine. Thank you very much, Grace.
No worries.
Oh, back one. Thank you. I'm sorry for the technology fail just after I'd saluted it for working so well. So yeah, you can see as well that a lot of the car parking areas around the NEC have stopped being car parks, and they have turned into some significant development, as well as obviously the logistics centre that was featured in the video down at JLR. So this really is starting to become a really quite developed site. If you could just move on one slide, please, Grace. And some of the deliverables that we're looking at for this area just start to show you really the scale of the opportunity. We're talking about supporting 70,000 plus jobs. Those are new and existing ones, so deep into supply chains as well. But clearly, these are really quite high value jobs as well, so making a real difference to the local economy and the opportunities for local people. There is a significant residential offer that will be in place. We're talking 5,000 plus homes, not necessarily houses. I think, you know, realistically, we're talking about apartments here because we are next to an airport and a couple of railway lines and a motorway. You can see there the commercial space. Those of you who are familiar with the area, which I'd hope most of you are, if you lump together Paradise, Arena Central and Brunley Place, this commercial space offering is bigger than the 3 of those. So it's really, really sizable. And the GVA contribution is absolutely phenomenal. We're talking about a greater impact than that of Southampton as we currently stand. And I think the most important one for people who work and live in the area as well is that we are really trying to make quite a big difference when it comes to public transport. So our estimation is that 1.3 million people are going to be brought to within a 45-minute public transport commute of the hub. That's above and beyond the impact of HS2. So a really significant opportunity for people to get out of their cars and onto public transport that actually delivers when they need it to. If you could move on, please, Grace. Thank you. So we've got 7 projects really, and they're all interlinked. We can't really deliver one without the others because they're so closely aligned. And I'll run through these in a little bit more detail. Some of them are kind of grouped together as it is. I'll talk about the parking solution at Arden Cross first, if we can move on, please, Grace. Thank you. Colleagues on this call will talk to you in much more detail about what's happening with the HS2 station, but you can sort of see it there in the middle of that triangle of land. But what we're doing is working very closely with HS2 themselves to reconfigure the car parking offer at this site. So the original plan was for 7,500 surface car parking spaces that would be either side of the station and the trace that you can see in that triangle. Clearly, that's an awful lot of land that could be used in a more productive way. And as I mentioned, HS2 are working in a really proactive way with us to consolidate that car parking into 2 multi-storey car parks. What that does is it doesn't just free up the amount of land that we can use for development, but it actually means we can start development much sooner. So our ambition is actually that we could have some land around Arden Cross developed before the first HS2 train actually pulls into the station. And again, that's an opportunity to deliver jobs and to start to bring in other tenants if we've got some really quite attractive anchor tenants there. Next slide, please, Grace. Thank you. Many of you will be familiar with Birmingham International Station on the West Coast Main Line, and probably not for the right reasons. It's old, it's tired, it's very close to falling over in rush hour. Well, rush hour of old, but when we get back to the old normal, it really does need some TLC, I think it's fair to say. So our ambition is to transform not just the station itself, but the area immediately outside the station, so that we have a public transport facility where Sprint, Metro, ordinary buses, cars, taxis, cyclists, pedestrians, people on the automated people mover, people on the West Coast Main Line can all come into one place, and you've got lots of seamless connections. This is the project really that connects the region to HS2 through the people mover. If you could move on another slide, please, Grace. Thank you. This sort of daylight image of Birmingham International shows some of the commercial development opportunities that we foresee as well. So we think there's an opportunity with the realignment of the people mover, which you can just see at the front of that screen, to create probably an office building that would be suitable as an HQ, but also a hotel building there as well. Move on slide. Next slide, please, Grace. Thank you. So again, this is another project that we're working very closely with HS2 on, and it's just a very slight realignment of the people mover. But what it does at Birmingham International is it creates that opportunity for all of that commercial development and to have a plaza and a real sort of sense of place that would give Birmingham International a much better identity and sense of arrival than you currently get at the moment. Next one, please, Grace. Thank you. You probably saw this on the drone footage, but the roundabout over the trace, again, Fiona will go into much more detail on this one. This is a traffic roundabout. Sounds very dull because it's a traffic roundabout, right? But it's actually a really important enabler of future growth. So HS2 is obliged to build a roundabout that will accommodate HS2 related traffic. But what we've done is work with them to secure some regional money, which will make that traffic roundabout much wider in terms of the lanes, so that in the future we can open up those lanes very easily to accommodate all of the extra traffic that we anticipate will come above and beyond the HS2 station. Move on, please, Grace. Thank you. There's a couple of slides here that really sort of tie together, and these are about putting in place extra highways improvements and upgrades, just to make sure that the area keeps flowing because of all of that growth that I've talked about before that's above and beyond the impact of HS2. One of the really important ones is to make sure that we have this public transport bridge. There won't be any cars allowed on it, I'm afraid. You know, you'll have to be in a bus or on a tram or on your bike, some sort of form of active travel, again, to make sure that Arden Cross isn't disconnected from the rest of the hub. Move on, please, Grace. Thank you. Lots of other pinch points around the area. Certainly, if you've been up to Birmingham Business Park, there's a roundabout up there that's troublesome at best at rush hour, but also down sort of on Stonebridge roundabout as well. and also towards Highway England, junction 6 of the M42. So we're trying to coordinate a lot of the highways improvements to make sure that they all work together and flow really, so that we've got better flow of traffic and better resilience around the area, particularly as we've got Commonwealth Games coming with an anticipated uplift in traffic there. Move on please, Grace. Thank you. And this is the last important project really for us. And this is about making sure we can all put the kettle on in the morning and make a cup of tea without the lights going off. We've got some really hefty users of electricity across the whole of the hub. It sounds crackers, but you know, the airport is looking at things like hybrid planes. And if you need to plug one of those planes in, you really need to have a fully reinforced electricity network. So there's a lot of work that we're doing behind the scenes at the moment on feasibility, just to understand the need really and make sure all of our stakeholders are bought in to whatever that solution is, to make sure the area is robust and can withstand all this growth, and to future-proof it really, so that businesses and residents alike can be certain that the network is sufficiently reinforced. So there's some big projects planned coming up over the next 10 years and probably beyond that, if we're perfectly honest. Grace, the last slide has got some details for how you can stay in touch with us. We're quite proactive on Twitter and LinkedIn. And also if you go to our homepage of our website, there's an e-zine that we're launching. If not this month, it will be coming out in January. So I'd encourage you to sign up to that. There's a link at the bottom and you can stay in touch with all of our plans that way. I'm going to hand over to Matt now, but very happy to stay on and then take calls towards the end. Questions.
Thanks, Claire. And I think, Fee, you're going to drive my slides for me because I'm technologically inept. And also, you can tell from my jacket, I'm so cold that I don't think my hands are going to actually work properly. I had a clever idea to move into this quieter space to do this thing, and I forgot that there's no heating and it's ridiculous in here. But anyway, I'll stop moaning. Morning, everybody. Nice to be back speaking to you all. Things are settling down for you kind of just as we move towards the break. They're not settling down for us. We're incredibly busy, as you'll probably hear from our presentation. So we'll give you a quick update on where we are with the project. You'll hear from my colleague Fee, who's an engagement manager at LM, and we'll sort of try and fill you in on where we are with stuff and give you a little bit of an update on how to get involved in the project in terms of local businesses. So if you just move to the next slide, just by way of a bit of a reminder, I'm sure everybody knows this already, this is the HS2 route. It's stopping at over 25 stations from Scotland down to the southeast, including 8 of Britain's largest cities. We're building in 3 phases. Phase 1 between West Midlands and London is obviously where we're sitting at the moment in terms of Solihull, and that's well underway, as you'll hear, and that's in dark blue on this map. Phase 2A between the West Midlands of Crewe has been sort of brought forward in terms of its phasing. It's currently going through Parliament. I think it's about to have its 3rd reading, and we're hoping for some positive news on that before the end of the year. Phase 2B, which completes the network up to Manchester and Leeds, is currently going through its design phase, and we're hoping we'll start to go through Parliament next year. It's a massive project, transformational. It's quite hard to get your head around just how much it could change the way we work and live in this country, and for Solihull in particular, it's a massive opportunity, and one that, as Claire touched on, is really exciting and that we're really keen to work with everybody on to get the most out of. So if we just move to the next slide, I'll just give you a quick update in terms of the kind of key milestones for us this year. So in April this year, DfT gave us what we call notice to proceed for our main work civils contracts. So that's the really big stuff, and that was a really important moment for us. Speaking in kind of like just plain English, what it means is that the government essentially gave HS2 Limited the money and the rubber stamp to pass that money into the coffers of the main work civils contractors to start spending money and actually delivering work. And that was followed up in September 2020 with the sort of formal start of HS2's construction. We've been building and preparing the way with people like LM for some time now, but that September 2020 milestone is a really big one for us. It's where we really get moving with some of the bigger stuff. And finally, just in terms of our kind of annual milestones and updates, I guess, we're remiss not to mention COVID. We're all the way through the kind of crisis, we've had really clear guidance from government in terms of construction carries on. We haven't really had too much of a pause, if I'm honest. The contractors we work with have been amazing under the sort of conditions that we've had to work within. And actually, if you think about it, the construction sites kind of lend themselves quite well to being managed anyway in terms of getting people on and off the site. So we're still doing some work to understand the wider impacts of the situation, specifically on our supply chain, getting things to site, getting people to site. But largely we've carried on, and I think, you know, at key points we had sort of around 90% of our sites were open and operational. So it's been an impact for us, but we've managed to kind of mitigate that as much as we possibly can. Just a quick thing on the station itself. These images are super exciting. Whenever I see them, I always think I was working on this bit of the project, as opposed to the bit I work on. I always think this bit is probably one of the most exciting parts of the whole thing. Claire gave a bit of an outline on what's planned for the area in terms of the station, and Fiona will give you a little bit more in terms of current construction work shortly. But these images hopefully give you an idea of what it will look like. The station, the automated people mover, moving people from interchange over the M42 to the NEC, the airport, they've all been designed by Arup, and the designs were submitted to Solihull Council for planning approval earlier this year. That was a massive milestone for us, and approval was granted in August. And another sort of excellent milestone for us in terms of the station was that it received BREEAM Outstanding Accreditation earlier this year, which puts it in kind of the top 1% of buildings for its environmentally friendly credentials. HS2 is committed to being a green project, and that sort of kind of external accreditation is really key for us to kind of as a proof point in terms of where we are. At the end of November, Arup also won a World Architecture News Gold Award for the design. That award is particularly welcome. It brings together the most senior and influential professionals from across architecture internationally to kind of celebrate excellence. So I think what Solihull's getting in this station is a really, really incredible piece of architecture that's sort of exciting and sustainable, and is going to give that sort of hub a real shiny focus, if that makes sense. Cool. And then just on the people mover, this slide shows a little bit what the designs will look like with color-coded stops for each of the different stop locations. We expect it to be able to carry around 2,100 passengers per hour, and services will be every 3 minutes, with the journey taking about 6 minutes. Procurement for both the station and the APM are going to start next year and be appointed hopefully in 2022. So a key year for us in terms of getting the people in place to be able to deliver some of these really exciting projects in this area. So moving on quickly to business opportunities. With that in mind, I think I've talked to a lot of you on the call before about this, so I'd like to just give you a bit of an update really. But again, I just want to kind of stress that in terms of the opportunities that the project will bring, it's more than just kind of tracks and trains. We're going to need all sorts of things. Our subcontractors and our workforce will need a huge amount of different things outside of what you would just normally associate to the railway. So creative services, printers, photographers, signage companies, food and catering isn't just like kitchen setups and mobile caterers on site. Could be catering for meetings, events, places for our workforce to get lunch on local high streets. Accommodation could be modular blocks on sites, but also B&Bs, hotels, private rentals, things that our office construction staff will need. And then employee services could be anything that me or you would need to go about on our sort of daily lives, health and well-being services, gyms, dentists, hairdressers, places for our workers to spend time with their families. It's just a huge amount of opportunity that are going to come alongside this project. And I think in terms of this shopping list, there isn't really, I guess, a deadline for this either. You know, that's something that people always ask. This is going to be kind of something that our contractors are going to need throughout, and it's going to be something that we need to kind of make sure we understand the local offer of. The way that one of our tier one procurement guys described it to me the other day was that what we really need to do, working with people like the chambers and local business groups, is to keep the buffet stocked for our local suppliers. And if we can keep that local buffet stocked over the next kind of few years, they're going to eat from it very regularly. during their whole construction program. So there's just a huge amount of opportunity, and I think thinking differently about what your individual business offers is something that I'd really recommend. So if we just move on to the next slide, it's already starting to kind of happen. So there are 122 businesses in the West Midlands, not quite sure what Chester's in there, that's probably my typo, apologies, already working on the project. 67% of them are SMEs. Across the whole line of route, we've got about 2,000 businesses currently involved in the project, and 1,000, just over 1,000 of those are local to the HS2 route. So businesses that we would class kind of within regional counties that the line touches, and 76% of those are SMEs. So we've done quite a few events recently, and quite a few big events with the minister where we've committed to using SMEs as much as we possibly can. And I think we're already starting to do that. We won't get this railway built without SMEs, to be honest. Like, we're going to need huge amounts of their supply chain. So in terms of getting involved, there are a few different ways, a few different levels in terms of the complexity and the types of contract. So you can go all the way from a big framework contract up on the left, where you'll need to go through a really formal tender process, which will have lots of requirements attached, all the way down to, on the right hand side, our worker choice. So where we need to understand what our workers need and help link them up with local businesses to just provide the services and goods that they're looking for. And in the middle of that, there's also kind of less difficult, I suppose, short form contracts, and then some purchase orders where there'll be just regular ad hoc purchases made by our contractors on site. And I think the key thing here is all of these ways of getting involved are available to all businesses of all types and sizes, and we're also kind of here to help with that, if that makes sense. So on the framework contracts, we would look for our main works contractors to work with you in terms of the tender process, and also to try and get some support for some of the organisations we work with to get you into a good place to be able to deliver stuff for HS2. The idea of the project isn't necessarily that everyone benefits purely from just getting a contract. It's also that when a project like this comes to town, we should be looking to upskill businesses within business communities to get them to a point where, even if they're not successful with HS2, they may be able to bid for a contract on another project. And especially in an area like this, where you've got this wider hub aspiration and all of this really exciting stuff coming, you know, along with HS2, there's going to be all these other projects that you may be able to get involved in as a local business. So if we just move on to the next slide, Fee. So in terms of how the sort of actual practical next steps, if you're a local business and you think you'll be able to offer a service to our workers, or you just want to tell us what you do, this is the place to go, hs2.org.uk/local businesses. We capture the offer of local business communities, and we have regular meetings with our contractors and their supply chain, where we talk through the offer of local suppliers so that they're aware of them. We can't tell them how to spend their money, it doesn't work like that, but what we can do is make sure they're aware of the offer of local businesses. So I would, if you haven't already, and I know a lot of you have, because I've seen your businesses on there, I would go there and I would register. It's a very simple form, and all it does is just tell us about what you do. We've got, actually that number's a little bit old now, I think we're getting on towards 1,000 businesses registered with us. So every time one of our contractors needs something, that's one of the tools they use. It's not the only tool, but it's one of the tools they use, and we as the local business team continually re-emphasize the importance of using local businesses. So really key place to go. And the second place, if we just go to the next slide, that you absolutely need to go and register on if you haven't already. It's a slightly more robust registration process. It's completely free. It is relatively simple. I've got an account on there which shows you just how simple it is. If I can sign up, then you absolutely will be able to. Is compete for, and that is where all of our sort of formal contracts opportunities from our tier 1 contractors and all the way down through our supply chain are promoted and offered. You can create a profile which kind of links you up to key opportunities, and also allows you to kind of do a bit more B2B networking. So one of the things that I think Compete For is really useful for, which people don't necessarily think about, is if you go on there and create a profile, but keep your, I guess, your search parameters a little bit wider. what you should be able to do is to see further up the chain where contracts are let. So, for example, if once that tier 1 station design contract is in place, they let a contract to a fencing company, and you are, I don't know, you're a skip provider or something like that, you'll be able to see which fencing company got that contract, and you'll be able to approach them directly to offer them a service that's more relevant to you. So it's a way to keep an eye on the market and to keep an eye on the contracts being let at the project, as well as just to get direct access to HS2 opportunities. It's a really, really useful platform, and there's guidance available as well. So if you're having any problem with it, you can drop us a line and we'll put you in touch with the guys at Compete4, and they're really helpful, and they'll teach you how to get the most out of the platform. So those 2 places are the key places to go to in terms of local business opportunities. So that's it for me in terms of a quick update on business. And now I'll hand over to Fee, who's going to give you an update on some of the works in the area that are going to make all this exciting stuff happen. So thank you.
Lovely, thanks, Matt. So yeah, my name's Fiona. I'm the engagement manager for what we describe as the interchange area. So all of our activities around the future HS2 interchange station. I work for LM on behalf of HS2. So sort of working off the back from what Claire said, kind of went through earlier, is I'm here to just give you a bit of an overview of our key construction milestones, kind of the back end of this year, and then a look forward to early 2021 and what you can expect as a local business or organisation sort of travelling and carrying out your operations in the area, and also what mitigations we have in place to ensure that will keep you moving throughout our construction works. So just a bit of a reminder of where we are. This encompasses the areas in which I'm going to discuss today. So you can see the indicative location of the future HS2 interchange station in the middle there. And you can see the key road networks that I've highlighted on this map, or where you can expect to see LM as enabling works contractors working at any particular time over the next year, over 2021, and also where you can expect to see the future main works contractors, Balfour, BT Vanchi, or BBV as we call them, from around kind of mid next year. So what to expect for the remainder of the year and throughout 2021, as Claire's already mentioned, to ensure that the local road network is fit for purpose when the future station is open, we are remodelling and improving the existing network, as well as creating new routes on HS2 land. We all know that the current network struggles. Obviously, prior to COVID, you know, we had pinch points in terms of peak travel times. Obviously, what we need to do with the station, although sustainable travel will be greatly encouraged in the area, particularly with things such as the people mover, in the future the metro, as well as sprint buses. We know that people are going to travel to the station via car. That's unavoidable. So what we need to do is make sure that the road network is fit for purpose, that, you know, we're ensuring that there is enough capacity on the network to match the increased capacity on the roads. And for LM's contract with HS2, that's broadly split into 4 parts of a project. So we've got 3 structures that we're building in the area, 2 are already completed, and then we have a highways programme, which I'll take you through in just a moment. So as you can see here, corresponding with the colours that you saw on the last slide, this is an artist's impression of that future road network. You can see in the top right hand corner the remodelled network outside Birmingham Business Park, taking you down to the NEC, as well as the Holiday Inn Express and the Little Owl pub. You can see what we've got in the middle is the HS2 railway route, which will remove the current large roundabout that takes traffic over the M42 and both sides of the network. That will be replaced by a T-junction that you can see there outside Birmingham Business Park, and the current small island en route to the NEC will be replaced by a longabout. And what we mean by that is essentially a larger roundabout, sort of stretched with additional capacity. And what you can see there circled by the blue is a bridge over the M42. So alternatively in the future, rather than taking that large roundabout, which is currently there to get over the M42, you'll take this bridge over the motorway instead. That bridge will then take you to a large roundabout in what is currently the centre of our construction site, in that triangle that Claire mentioned. And that will be able to take you to the station, as well as north towards Melbeck's Garden Centre at Quartz Point Business Park, or south down the A452 towards Stonebridge Island. And then, as you can see, finally circled in orange, that is the highways bridge over the A446. So What I've circled is LM's responsibility to deliver during 2021. The other parts of the network that you can see on this map will be delivered next year and onwards by BBV. So it's a collaborative effort between the two contractors to create this final road network for the area, as well as working with people like UGC and Solihull Council to ensure that the network has the right amount of future-proofing as well. So just to give you an overview of the key milestones as part of that programme, in August we installed the first highways bridge as part of this network, but also HS2's first structure along the entire HS2 route. So you can see our M42 bridge going in there during a weekend closure in August. That was successfully installed 22 hours in advance. So we reopened it in much earlier than anticipated for morning rush hour traffic on the Monday. And then we repeated the process in October, installing a highways bridge over the A446. And again, we delivered this on this occasion 24 hours in advance. This presentation will be circulated afterwards. You can see there are some links for both of these if you do wish to find out a bit more information about all these activities. And as Claire mentioned, there is that large roundabout in the centre of the current triangle, which is our construction site, and you can see here the stages we are at the moment. They are nearly complete. They're due for completion at the end of this year, and you can see at the moment the process that we're going through is tarmacking the tops of those bridges. Again, follow the link for more information. But just to give you a bit of a view, this is a more zoomed in version of that roundabout. As Claire mentioned, there will be capacity to extend this roundabout in the future. But some other key features that you can see from this, for example, is the kind of improved pedestrian routes around this island. So whatever route you are taking to the station, you will also be able to walk and cycle to it. So we need to make sure that there is adequate pedestrian crossings and pathways all across this new network, something which we don't have in quite a lot of spots at the moment. So our highways development programme, this is that key section that I mentioned. So with us removing the large roundabout over the motorway, we need to create a T-junction and a longabout to take traffic over the future highways bridge. So what we've been doing over the last few months is a big part of as our work, as I mentioned, is improving not only the road connectivity around the area, but also the pedestrian movement around the area. And so over the last few months, we've been working really hard to create brand new footpaths, widened and better surfaced, but also key central reservations at key points of the network as well. And last weekend, we did a weekend closure on a short section of the B4438 near the Holiday Inn Express to actually connect the existing network to the first part of the new network that we have created. So if you are travelling the area, you'll be travelling on a new part of the network from now on. And this is essentially the process that we will undertake next year. There will be occasional weekend closures around this part of the network to ensure that we are incrementally tying in the existing network with the new network. That means essentially that, this has to be done incrementally. It can't be done all at once. So by doing it on a weekend, we hope to minimise impact as much as possible. With this first tie-in, we were actually off the network at 8 o'clock on the Sunday evening when we were planned to be on until 5 AM on the Monday. So we've learnt a lot of lessons from this tie-in, as well as what works and what doesn't work. And we hope to take those lessons learned into next year to ensure that we are doing these ties as quickly and efficiently as possible. And just a reminder, again, a bit of a close-up of what those two future areas will look like. So some of the key improvements here at the top, you can see the T-junction outside Birmingham Business Park. Most importantly there, you can see improved pedestrian pathways throughout the network, as well as really large central reservations with better pedestrian crossings, something that we don't have at the moment. Sort of crossing or walking around that current roundabout is a little bit of a death trap. So we hope to remedy that with this new network. There will also be full-time street lighting and traffic signals on this network as well. At the moment, they're part-time, but in the future, they will be full-time. We hope by that we're making sure that traffic is being segregated at the right times, letting in and out the right amounts of people. We all know what it's like at the moment. You sit at that roundabout and no one wants to let you through, which backs up the traffic along the B4438 and the A452. So hopefully we can avoid that. And not only that, you can see sort of the top of their image. Essentially at the moment, if whatever route you want to travel, you have to go around that roundabout. In the future, if you want to go to Birmingham Business Park, you will take exclusive roads in and out of the business park. And similarly, if you want to go straight to the NEC or over the M42, you will take exclusive roads to that as well. So again, by segregating the traffic, what we're hoping to do is remove that current problem, which is everyone trying to use the same bits of the network to get everywhere with no control over who takes priority. And what you can see at the bottom there is the Roundabout, and again you can see really improved central reservations and pathways for pedestrian crossing, as well as actually being able to go around and onto that Roundabout. And again you can see the increased capacity in terms of lanes as well, and you get a bit more of a better view of those exclusive roads that would take you to the NEC and over the M42 bridge there in the top right hand corner. And what you can also see in these images is essentially a view of what the landscape will look like as well. As you all know, as part of our works, we have had to remove a significant amount of shrubbery and trees in the area, but part of HS2's contract with its contractors is that the area will be re-landscaped as part of our project. So this is something you'll see as the final road network is completed, landscaping on the roundabouts, along the pathways, as you can see there, as well as ponds that you can see just along there on Northway, will all be put back in by HS2's contractors. So what to expect until the end of the year? And then when I mean end of the year, I mean the last 2 weeks. LM will finalise all of its works in the area on Friday, the 18th of December, and we'll have a 2-week shutdown recommencing on Monday, the 4th of January. But for the next 2 weeks, you can continue to expect to see us on that short section of the B4438 near the Holiday Inn, as well as the top section of the Northway leading into that. And we'll continue to develop pedestrian footpaths, curb lines and central reservations. And as I already mentioned, from now on, you'll be travelling in this area on the first new section of that road network. You can also expect to see temporary traffic lights on a short section of the A452 leading up to that major roundabout over the motorway. They'll be in place until mid-December, roughly 16th of December. We're only putting them on when we absolutely need to, so just expect as you are travelling on that network that you might see temporary traffic lights. And as I mentioned, we're continuing to complete our roundabout in the centre of that triangle. So what to expect in early 2021, now the 2 bridges are in place over the M42 and the A446, we do need to carry out some follow-up works, for instance, improving street lighting, etc., and utility works. So there will be a range of overnight single lane closures on the M42, the A446 and the A452 in January. There will be single lane closures, so everyone will be able to travel along the network as always. And we are hoping with COVID that traffic levels will remain quite low. And as always, we won't do all of those overnight closures all at once. They'll be staggered on different parts of the network over several evenings to ensure that we're not overburdening the network. And in terms of our works around Birmingham Business Park, again, we're taking the same approach. We're chunking our works along the network, so we're never overburdening it or working on too extensive area that it would cause problems. So our works next year will move from where we currently are further up towards the large roundabout on the over the M42. So you can expect to see us working on and around the island, as well as working on the central reservations near Birmingham Business Park and the entrance slightly into the park. The access to Birmingham Business Park will be maintained throughout our work, so don't worry if you work there, you'll still be able to get in and out of work. Maybe that's not great for everyone, I'm not quite sure, but you'll still be able to do that. What I wanted to emphasise really just at the end is, you know, we will continue to be a large presence in the area into next year, and there will also be the main works contracts coming on board later in 2021. Best thing to do is keep our contact details to hand. If you ever want to find out more about a specific issue you have, or perhaps just a specific question on what we're doing and where we're doing it, please get in touch with the HS2 24-hour telephone line, or you can contact the help desk via email. What I would also advise is obviously we will continue to present at these types of forums, so you will get a sort of quarterly update from us face-to-face or virtually at the moment. But what I do is to ensure that you have a day-to-day view of what we're doing, where we're doing it and why we're doing it. I'd really advise you subscribing and encouraging your colleagues to subscribe to HS2inSolihull.co.uk. On the homepage, there's a sign-up box to subscribe for live updates and news alerts about all of our works in the area. So that includes traffic management, but also activities that we might be doing that you will visually see, or events such as virtual webinars, etc., if you're interested about the wider project, as well as business events as well. If you're travelling in the area from other local authorities, we have equivalent websites for areas such as Birmingham and Warwickshire, and you can find those at hs2.org.uk/in-your-area. So if you're looking to sort of keep updated as you know, personally, not just through your company, I'd definitely advise you signing up to those. So that's everything from LM. I think we'll be doing questions in a moment, so I'll hand over to Lillian.
Brilliant. Thank you all so much for that. I think that was really, really interesting. Loved seeing the video, Claire, just to help you visualize what it's going to look like as well, doesn't it? So yes, we've got a couple of minutes left for questions. So if anyone has any questions, there is a Q&A box at the bottom, which you can use to drop any questions into so that we can answer them as a panel. There was a couple of comments which I think just went to the panelists, so just wanted to highlight them. So I think someone said obviously they found it very helpful to know that HS2 is able to offer support in terms of supply chain opportunities. So obviously if you have got any questions on those, Matt's with us now to answer those, and otherwise you can always reach out to the Chamber as well. Slides will be shared so that everyone can have a look through as well. So we'll send those out to anyone that's attended today. I haven't seen any questions come through, so I'll give it a couple more minutes just in case anyone's typing anything up. I really enjoyed seeing that. I think it's great. I have personally not been to the area since COVID, so Fiona, I think I'm going to get a bit of a shock when I drive around to see everything that's changed.
Yeah, you will, Lily, and actually you've raised a very good point there that I want to emphasise. If you are returning to the area, it is going to be visually quite different, and also, like I said, part of the road network will be different. There is extensive signage up in the area to help you navigate the area, and that will be something that we do continue through our traffic management. So the best thing to do, like I said, though, is if you follow the links in the presentation, get a bit re-familiarised with the area through our notifications as well as our web pages on HS2 in Solihull before you start regularly driving back in the area.
Any question, Fiona? I'm terrible. I use Google Maps for everything where I drive. Would that reflect anything that's going on at the moment, or would I discover or everything's changed?
No, so in terms of what we've done so far, it wouldn't have so extensively affected the network that you would need to go on Google Maps. So just to reassure you, at the moment, the only section that has been connected to the existing network is quite a short section near the NEC Holiday Inn Express. So it's not completely different. Obviously, as our more major works come online next year, and there is a gradual move to from the existing network to the new network, things such as sat-navs and Google Maps will be updated as necessary.
Okay, cool.
Lillian, can I just add to that something on behalf of Highways England? I know they're not on this webinar, but certainly when I spoke to them a couple of weeks ago, 2021 will see some pretty major works starting in terms of the new Junction 5 road, which is between Junction 5A, which is between Junction 6 and Junction 5, which is almost like a relief road that will take you into the airport site. They've got a pretty good project page on the Highways England West Midlands website, so I can circulate that link to everybody afterwards, but it's certainly worth people keeping an eye on that as well, because for a couple of years there is going to be some fairly significant work to relieve the pressure on that junction. Okay,
that's really good to know, Claire. If you could drop that to me and Grace, then we'll make sure it goes out with the presentation of today so everyone has that link. Thank you. We have got a question in the Q&A come up. So Compete For seems a difficult tool to use. I don't seem to have much luck gaining any opportunities. For local business, is there any top tips to contact HS2 to offer services?
Yeah, I can answer that one. I think I talked to Roy before, but yeah, it's difficult because I guess depending on the type of business you are, Compete For will be for you or not. So, you know, I think you work for the hotel, or you're part of the hotel chain there, Roy, but in terms of accommodation, I think you've already done the key thing in terms of what we can do to help, which is to let us know about your offer, and we regularly share that with the contractors, so they can choose then where they're going to go. I think in this particular area with accommodation, it is quite tricky, purely because, as per the presentation, although BBV are going to be coming to the area to start doing some work, the sort of station contract isn't actually let yet. So although LM and the guys are doing work and there is a presence there, it's not necessarily at its peak yet, I think. So for a hotel like yours, it's kind of, I guess it's a really tricky time anyway at the moment, but we're not necessarily going to be the sort of answer to that question there. And in terms of top tips, I think you've done the right thing. The other thing I would say, and it's, you know, it's not so much of a tip as just an observation from the businesses that have got involved in the project and are doing well, is, and this is not a criticism by any means, because you're doing all the right things and coming to these events, but go and speak to the guys on site. Go and have a conversation, find out what they're up to, things like that Fiona's doing, and when they're going to be around. You know, the businesses that have really done well out of the project so far have been ones that have just really been super proactive. And I know that's easy for me to say sitting behind my desk, but they literally have gone and talked to the workers and said, what do you need? Where are you going to stay? What are you going to be doing? How's it going to work? When will you be busy? When will you not be busy? And that's helped them plan, and that's helped them, you know, it's also helped them in terms of how much you're willing to spend. You know, those really practical questions. I think these events are brilliant in terms of having those connections, but actually going and talking to the people who you're going to be housing are probably a really good way to do it. And that's that I've really seen businesses have success there. So it's not particularly practical advice, and there's no silver bullet. You know, there's going to be competition, and just going out there and putting yourself out there is a really good thing to do. I see another one just whilst they're there about opportunities outside to compete for. Yes, there will be, which is, I think, if you go and register your business on that local business page, that and let us know what you do, that helps us. So again, it's the timing of all of this stuff. It's kind of just starting to emerge, really, in terms of the weight of our workforce coming to site, compounds opening. That's when I think those other opportunities are going to come along. But compete for, if you don't use it for the opportunities directly, as I said earlier, what's really useful is you can use it to keep on track of what's happening. So if you use Fiona and Rachel's world in terms of finding out what work's happening, and then you use compete for to find out the people who are doing that work, that kind of gives you a complete picture in terms of some of those opportunities outside of that platform. So that, I think it's try and use those platforms in a way that isn't just to bid for the work and then get the contract. It's just to try and give yourself an informed picture. It's not going to land in anyone's lap, I think, is a key message. It's not a great message, but it's a key message. You know, coming to these things is great because we can have these open conversations, but just going out there and getting involved is a really important thing. It won't just, you know, someone from HS2 isn't just going to knock on the door and go, would you like a contract? It's just not going to work like that.
That's fair enough, Matt. I hope that helps people attending today to understand that a little bit better, but I think you're right. No one's going to knock on the door, unfortunately. I think we'd all love for that to happen.
We'd love to be able to do it. We would love to be I want to get all the local businesses that are registered involved in the project, but it's just, you know, it doesn't work like that. They've got a responsibility to spend taxpayers' money properly and appropriately, and so unless you go out there and take it, I think it won't just land. You have to be proactive, I think, and people on this call obviously are.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Matt. I think we've got one more question in the Q&A, slightly different topic. I'm not sure who's best to answer it, but someone's asked, unless I've missed it, is the motorway service area still on track? Is it still happening?
I can try and help with that one, Lillian. I don't want anybody to, hold me to this because it's not really my area, but my understanding is that there are 2 planning applications that have gone into Solihull Council for 2 different sites. One is down by Junction 4, which is the Dorridge, Shirley, Blythe Valley junction. And then there is another which is very, very close to junction where Junction 5A, the new junction, will be. I believe those applications are being heard in the 3rd week of January by Solihull Council, and that a decision will follow after that. But if anybody's got lots of time on their hands, they can go digging around Solihull Council's planning pages on their websites, and you could probably find a lot more information there. But that's my basic understanding, but nobody hold me to it, please.
That's great, Claire. Thank you very much for that. There isn't any further questions in the Q&A, and it's also coming up to 12 o'clock. So I think I'm going to round up this webinar. Thank you all so much for attending. Everyone speaking today, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate that. Recording will be available for anyone that want to watch anything back. We'll also send out slides. So I hope you all enjoyed that. Thank you again and have a great day.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.